You saw the title. You can probably guess what part we're talking about. Yes, we are talking. This is our government mandated Stone Ocean video. Better enjoy it, buddy. I have to make at least once a month. We all know the drill. Come on. You all know the drill. At least it's Stone Ocean and not, monthly forced SBR video. Pick your poison. What do you want? You want a Stone Ocean video where I just complain about the community, or do you want a Steel Ball Run video where I complain about the community? Make up your damn mind. But let me not get off topic too much. The most diversive part within JoJo's Bizarre Adventures comes in part 6. Stone Ocean, in my opinion, and honestly, it's clear, is the most diversive part in JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, because you either love it or you do not like it. I don't ever see an in-between or a gap. You either love it so much or you just don't like it that much. And as I matured, I understand. One thing I've always understood is that people can like different things. People can dislike different things. If you don't like Stone Ocean, you just don't like Stone Ocean, and that's fine. Only time I ever have a problem, and I've said this many times. Only time I've ever had a problem is when you start spreading false things. You start being like, oh, well, she ended the Joestar bloodline. No, she didn't. That's not what happened. You didn't read that. Because when you say that, that just shows an inept lack of understanding of anything that happens in the ending. Like a big ass gap. You know what I mean? It's like a gap in knowledge right there. Just because my whole thing is like, when people say that, they don't even understand actually how Made in Heaven's power works. Which, okay, when I was 14, I kind of understood it, but like I had to reread the actual page where they talk about Made in Heaven a lot. But now that I'm 19, I'm like, if you don't read the page where Poochie explicitly explains Made in Heaven, and then people will be like, oh, but after that, Araki never officially gives us a green light on if this is a new universe with no Poochie. You're serious? We saw fucking weather report. Why would Poochie be in this universe? Like, I think my whole thing is when people be like, oh, well, Poochie's death somehow caused Steel Ball Run. That just, it wouldn't even narratively make sense. It wouldn't even narratively make sense. What? I'm not even trying to. It would not narratively make sense, right? Because that would mean Irene just exists in the SBR verse, and that just wouldn't make sense because she still has the Joestar birthmark, but she shows up on not a single family tree. Right, so it's not it can't be the same universe as SBR. Irene would show up in a family tree. Same with Jotaro. So we're left to believe that what happened was, at least what we saw what happened, Poochie did not complete his plan, therefore reverting the effects of Made in Heaven. And since Poochie had already set the time back to the start of Stone Ocean, him dying then just essentially reversed everything that was going to happen in Stone Ocean, because Poochie's dead and his stand could not even finish its power completely. Okay, because again, in the universe reset, when Emporio goes into the universe reset, it's now November again. They go from March 2012 to like November 2011, and then Poochie dies November 2011. So that's why the Irene verse starts off in November of 2011. You know what I mean? That was the start of Stone Ocean. It's also when Poochie died in his own universe reset. And it's also where you remember, oh yeah, Made in Heaven is not an automatic stand that will just, like, we have no proof that it would ever spiral out of control to create Johnny or even mess up the past like that. Because even what Made in Heaven did in part 6, we see Jolene and Jotaro, right, after the universe reset, but it's like a vague version of them because their souls no longer exist because they had already been killed by Poochie, right? Cool. Why would that happen? That's what I'm saying. If that's what happens when the power fully works, why, when the power is then negated because the user is killed, would it cause the entire universe to spiral out of control so much that it would change the events of the entire Joestar bloodline, and then magically not include Irene? I'm sorry, Araki's a lot more intentional than a lot of y'all want to lead on or suspect, or whatever the case is. He would not do that. He just wouldn't. It was clear he was taking part 6 as the end of the original universe. You know what I mean? Very, very. That was probably the clearest thing about part 6. He was always taking it as the end of the original universe. So that's why when you get that ending, it makes 100% sense. Now, there are no loose ends with Dio that are left, okay? They finally, after 120 fucking years, tied up all the fucking loose ends with Dio and his whole family and all that shit. Tied all of it up. So now, the Joestars no longer have to fight against the Brandos or even the Brando legacy by extension. And they can just be Joestars. They no longer have to be JoJos. Because we always had Joestars, but we haven't always had JoJos. People, for whatever reason, tend to forget Jonathan was the first JoJo. George would never be classified as a JoJo. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. All of the bloodline from Irene past would just be like regular people. They would just be Georges, or what the hell is her name? Arenas. Yeah, Georges or Arenas. I just feel like people who don't understand part 6, they end up not liking it a lot more than I think that they would if they just understood it. Because part 6 to me is like Araki at some of his best writing. This is him at some of his best storytelling in particular. Like, this is, because to me, part 6 is really where he starts to get his formula that we see him use from part 6 after, where it's a lot tougher of an approach. I won't say part 6 was a start, but I feel like part 6 is really where he started like developing, really honing it. You see it in part 5 somewhat, the way the story twists and turns, but part 6 on really shows me, okay, this is how Araki wants to structure his stories. Because again, if you notice from part 5, even you can even say part 4 on, the main villain, how often do they show up at first? And even if they do show up at first, someone like Pucci, we seen him at first, but we saw a white snake with him. We didn't know that he would even get a new stand, or what that new stand would look like, or how it would be. And if you did know, it was only because you read the manga or you saw spoilers. You know what I mean? That style, it allows, at least to me, allows the main cast to breathe a little bit and for you to create some type of chemistry between those characters before you actually have to go into this super dangerous mission where now you don't even know who's going to die and who's going to live. Because Araki's been very liable for that. He's one of the only mangakas I could say he doesn't have a big problem killing his main character. He really doesn't. If the story calls for that, and if it's for the greater good, and if it will be a great character ending, he will do it. And I don't blame him. He's someone that, I have to admit, he uses his side characters to the fullest extent, and I love reading it or watching it every single fucking time. Like, what do you mean Emporio, the 11-year-old is the one who got the kill on the 40-year-old overpowered priest who killed everyone else? What? But if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You know, we're on the road to 10K, so anything helps. And until next time, peace.